For infants, the RDA of thiamine is 0.2 milligrams per day for those aged 0 to 6 months and 0.3 milligrams a day for those aged 7 to 12 months. As children grow, their thiamine needs increase. Children aged 1 to 3 years require 0.5 milligrams per day, and those aged 4 to 8 years need 0.6 milligrams per day. For older children, the RDA is 0.9 milligrams a day for those who are aged 9 to 13 years old. In adolescents and adults, the RDA for thiamine differs by gender. Males aged 14 years and older should consume at a minimum 1.2 milligrams of thiamine per day, while females in the same age group require a minimum of 1 milligram per day. For women, these needs change during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Pregnant women of any age should increase their intake to at least 1.4 milligrams per day, and breastfeeding women should consume 1.4 milligrams per day. Thiamine need, like I stated earlier, is directly related to one's carbohydrate intake, with approximately 1/3 of a milligram being needed for every additional 1,000 calories from carbohydrate. Food sources of thiamine include meat, fish, and whole grains. Like I had mentioned earlier, whole grain fortification with thiamine and other B vitamins began in the 1940s, and actually the most common sources of thiamine in the U.S. diet are from thiamine-fortified cereals and breads. It's estimated that more than 1/3 of thiamine in the U.S. food supply is provided by grain products, with animal meats providing around 1/4. I mentioned earlier that a 2019 study suggested that if not for thiamine-fortified foods in the United States, 41% of people would not be getting enough thiamine when considering the RDA. Because of fortified foods, only approximately 5 to 6% of U.S. adults report not taking in enough thiamine, but as we already went over, data exists suggesting that people reporting intake of 4 times the RDA are still considered deficient at times. Thiamine can also be naturally present in reasonable concentrations in whole grains like brown rice. For instance, brown rice is considered a whole grain because it includes all 3 parts of a grain kernel. These are the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. In brown rice, these 3 parts are present and intact. Thus, it's considered a whole grain, which naturally contains thiamine, approximately 200 micrograms per 100 grams of rice, actually. However, thiamine is unevenly distributed in most whole grains like brown rice. Typically, thiamine and several other micronutrients are stored in what are called alurone cells. These storage cells are rich in nutrients that support early growth stages of a plant. Alurone is found in the bran layer, which is the outer layer that envelopes the germ and the endosperm. But because the germ is rich in unsaturated oils, the food product is susceptible to these oils oxidizing, which would spoil the final product. Because of this, rice grain is typically milled to remove this issue altogether and improve the shelf life of the rice and other grain products like wheat. What you end up with is polished white rice and white flour, which is nearly devoid of thiamine and other micronutrients that were previously present. White rice contains about 1/10 of the thiamine content of brown rice unless it's enriched with thiamine after its initial processing. In grain-based foods, the most abundant sources of thiamine are cornmeal, oats, whole grain, wheat, rye flour, and brown rice, ranging from 200 to 800 micrograms of thiamine per 100 grams of food. Vegetables are very low in thiamine content, and most thiamine found in vegetables is in the form of free thiamine. In animal tissue, so animal meats, 80% or more of thiamine is found in its active form, thiamine pyrophosphate. Animal meats highest in thiamine are pork and ham, both having close to 1 milligram of thiamine per 100 grams of meat. Different types of fish, beef, chicken, and turkey all also contain appreciable amounts of thiamine. The richest sources of dietary thiamine are yeast, like dried brewer's yeast and baker's yeast.